What's up, guys? Today, we're getting buff with my main man, Jonathan Bravo. Enjoy. He's buff, he's tough, and he's got the scruff on his face. Mr. Jonathan Bravo. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I like talking to people that know their stuff, and just to convince the audience that you know your stuff, how many pull-ups can you do?
Man, I would say comfortably any given day, I could knock out 30 pull-ups.
In a row, bam.
In a row.
All right, what if we stack some weight on you? How much weight could you do?
Oh, man. If I was going to go for a 1 rep max, I have successfully done a pull-up with 180 pounds.
So
on
you
me.
strapped 180 pounds. That's like me hanging off your back, and you do a pull-up.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid, dude.
Pull-ups are fun. I'd say if I strapped about 100 pounds on me, I can knock out 10 pull-ups.
10 pull-ups with 100 pounds on you.
Yeah.
That puts you up there.
I've seen some people on the internet do some crazy things, but
So I got into, as you know, I got into a pull-up competition with a couple buddies of mine, and then we did one where I put like my daughter on my back and did a pull-up. And the thing about it is when you get to the top, you like kind of arch back, and my daughter goes flying off and hits the floor. And then my buddy did the same thing, and the same thing happened to his kids. So PSA out there, everybody, don't do pull-ups with your kids on your back. It's a recipe for disaster.
yeah, it is significantly harder to do a pull-up with like a backpack on or someone on your back or even a weight vest compared to what's commonly done with a belt and the weight hanging between your legs.
We should do some videos. See if you could do a pull-up with me. I'm like 178 right now.
That would be cool because it's a lot more awkward, obviously, with a person than the weight is very, you know.
And then if you can do it, I'll put you in like the sleeper hold and see if you can do it by the time you go unconscious.
I don't like my chances, but it sounds fun.
Okay, and then bench press, you're rolling up on 400, right?
Man, yeah, it's been a long lifetime goal. My actual goal would be like 2 times body weight bench, which I'm sitting about 200 pounds right now, so about 400. But I'm sitting at 385 right now, so I'm inching up. It's a long process.
Okay, nice. And then your Murph PR. What's roughly your Murph PR?
Oh man. Actually, unfortunately, earlier this year we were training hard for the Murph, and I did not PR on Memorial Day during the Murph, but 2 weeks earlier in training, I got it in just under 45 minutes. That's with the 20-pound weight vest on, like 44.
20-pound weight vest, run a mile, do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then run a mile with the 20-pound weight vest on.
It's tough. It's brutal. No matter how well you train for it, it is brutal.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason I pre-qualified you with all those questions is so people can know when they're listening to this that you're not only a guy that reads stuff and watches videos and went to school about, I would say, what'd you get your degree in?
Yeah, exercise
sports science. And then, but you're someone who lives it too. You don't just know it.
Right. Yeah, I have a passion for sports and training, and I'm fortunate to get to work with people who love both sports and training as well.
Yeah.
And so I do get to live it out, and I obviously work with people who love the same. And so I'm surrounded, fortunately, by people that I have very like-minded passions with.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. So for everybody, you're at FSP, Fairchild Sports Performance, which is just down the street, a couple blocks from us here.
Right.
And you guys train the top NFL guys, the top Major League Baseball guys. You train high school kids. You train soccer moms. You train everybody in between. And in my opinion, you guys are the Houston's premier place to be for that super high end. For sure, you're good at middle school kids, high school kids, etc. But what I've seen you guys do with the MLB guys and the NFL guys is pretty special.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have the opportunity to work with some very high level athletes, and obviously our time with them looks very different, and that's one of the reasons why I think that FSP has done a good job. Is we're very specific with our training. Everyone who comes in gets an assessment, right, and we use that time to kind of evaluate what the needs of each client is. And that way, when we have the program and then when the trainer trains them, they know exactly what their goals are. They know exactly where they want to be. And they're able to make that each training session specific to that client. And fortunately, with the professional athletes that we've trained, they come in already having a lot of talent. And so it's not our job to try and hit a home run with them. It's our job to keep them healthy, try to prolong their career, try to expand their earnings throughout their entire career, those type of things, instead of our approach with high school kids, maybe need a lot of work on the talent level or they need to get bigger. Our approach with them would be vastly different than it is with a professional athlete.
Okay, let me give that back to you to make sure I'm following you. So you're saying, a high school kid might need a push. He might need some mental toughness. He might need to do something till he barfs. Like you're going to push one of those guys a little differently than you would a guy that's been in the MLB for 10 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be way different. You know, the training philosophy is really specific to each client, and we definitely want to help them succeed on the field as best as possible. And for a professional athlete who's already been in the league, they already have the skills they need to maintain. There's no reason why we should be seeing them puking out the back door, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Those guys, you just want to keep them healthy enough. It's almost like prehab or rehab type stuff, more so than like trying to push it to the next level, unless someone's like needs to get it to the next level.
Right. You know, there are instances of that when someone's maybe been off for a while or it's off season and they got a little too out of shape. There's definitely a time and place for those type of things. But when someone comes in, you know, looking to play at the next level and they're not quite there yet, that's when we think, okay, we may have to do some more extreme things. We may have to put in a little bit harder work. Some days we'll be uncomfortable. You'll be really sore because we gotta find the difference between where you're at now and what you need to be at the next level.
And that next level could be high school to college, college to pro,
right,
or pro to all-star.
Yeah, we actually start taking clients as early as 8, and some of those kids, you know, have been with us for a while, and it's pretty incredible to see someone who's been there 4 or 5 years and going into high school, how refined some of their movement can become because they've been putting in the work for years. Or vice versa, we get someone who comes in as a freshman and, you know, maybe they have some talent, but movement wise and technique wise, you're like, wow, this guy can use a lot of refinement, but they're already very talented. So it's a joy getting to work with the full gamut of athletes.
And if you take a kid, you know, are you guys, for the younger kids coming up, is it more like expose them to all the ranges, all the movements? Are you trying to get sport specific at an early age, or that comes later?
Yeah, I would say it definitely comes later. It depends on what age and maybe what their goals are, because there are some parents who come in and say, my kid needs to be the best baseball player and, like, you know, or the best golfer. I want him to hit this far. And yeah, maybe we'll start, you know, making that more specific earlier on. But a lot of clients will come in and say, look, I play baseball, basketball, and football. I want to play all 3 in high school. And so that, you know, that gives us a little bit more freedom in their training style, because we do need to hit all the aspects of training, you know, faster, linear speed, lateral speed, force production, strength. We need to work on all of those things. And that ultimately was what helps kids become a more complete athlete, which most people would want, I would think. But it's a lot of fun either way. A lot of it depends on their goals, but I like it when we're able to train someone to have strengths in all the different aspects.
That's solid. So jumping to sort of the mental side real quick. What are the distinctions you see mentally between a kid that's like successful in high school making it to the college level?
Yeah. I mean, mentally, like you said, it's the biggest thing. There are a lot of athletes who are talented, and I still do think that there are kids who are talented enough without having the best mindset to make it at the college level. It may not be D1, but there are lots of, you know, chances to play college. And if you're talented enough, you don't necessarily have to be, you know, that mentally tough or mentally strong to make it to college.
Okay.
But definitely at the college level, the best athletes at the college level that are getting to the pro level have the best mental mindset. They have an understanding of what they need to do. Those are the guys who are not going out on Friday night because they have a game Saturday, or taking preparation into what they eat, how much they sleep. Those kind of athletes who are thinking ahead and not just showing up to the field. Those are the kind of athletes that can make it to the next level. At high school to college, you still have some of those people who are talented enough that they can get by with it.
Yeah.
But in the long term, that's going to hurt. Like, they're going to have to break that habit at some point if they want to continue progressing.
So if you see a kid, say a high school kid coming in there, and he's a little bit more Debbie Downer than he is high on life, or he just sort of a complainer, or, you know, how do you take that on as coaching? Or are you just like, you know what, I'm here for the strength and conditioning, I'm going to let one of these other coaches sort that out? Or how do you try to encourage those kids?
No, yeah. Each one of the kids that comes in, we definitely like treat them like family. Like, you know, I'm only about 10 years older, you know, 10 to 15 years older than these high school, college kids. So it's definitely in the like little brother stage. And I can definitely see kids, especially if they have some skill, or either they have some talent and they don't have the mindset, or vice versa. They have a strong mindset and they really want to make it, but they don't quite have the talent or the skill. You know, as someone who played some college baseball and has been through that process a little bit, like, I definitely see that as an opportunity for me to do a little bit of mentoring and to kind of take them under my wing and say, hey man, like, you have some skills in this area. This is what we really need to work on. If you want to make it to the next level, you're going to have to change your mindset a little bit. Complaining about these things, whining about these things is not going to help you, but changing your mindset and going at it head on is going to help you get to the next level. There are kids out there who are working just as hard as you with a better attitude than you, and they're the ones who are going to make it. And so encouraging them that they have the power to forge their own future.
That landed pretty well for me the way you were saying that. Does it land well for the kids when you tell them that?
Usually, there are always some kids who, whatever they have in their mind, either they're thinking about school or at a home life is just different. It just goes one ear and out the other. There's always going to be some of those kids, but the longer we spend with them, obviously the more chance we have for that stuff to land and for them to when the relationship builds, those conversations matter more.
Well, one of the cool things I like about y'all's program is, so you'll have some high school kids in there training at the same time while some college guys are in there, while some NFL guys are in there. Mm-hmm. So if you're, 15, 16 years old and you're looking at the guy that's been in the NFL for 10 years and you're looking at how you get to map it on, like, oh, this is how this guy trains. This is how these college guys train. It's not siloed out, so that I think that's really important for those younger kids to be able to see, the college and pro guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, we're fortunate to have just a really, really quality group of both college and pro guys who are willing to mingle with the younger kids, and the high school and the middle school kids.
They seem to love it.
And that creates such a good culture, because then everyone's comfortable. Everyone's in there having a good time. Everyone's cheering each other on. Like, to see an NFL player rooting a 12-year-old kid as he runs a shuttle up and down the turf, you're not going to get that many places.
Yeah, that feels good. Even when I've been in there, I'm older than these NFL guys, but when one of them's rooting for me, I'm like, yeah, that's fun, And same thing, even when the high school kids are rooting for me, I think it's fun. So
absolutely, that's
a really cool piece of the whole thing. Did that just sort of happen by accident, or do y'all put sort of some thought and effort into that?
There tends to be a couple of time frames that stuff just happens to go well. Like during the summer, for example, if we have our college or high school football groups that we train, we definitely try to have some of the NFL guys in there at the same time.
So you have camps?
Yeah, during the summer we have some camps.
Where kids will come for 2 hours, or how long is it?
Yeah, it's usually about an hour and a half. They'll come and do a warm up, and then we train for an hour 15, and we go through a lot of that. And the pro guys are there a little bit longer, but they'll get to see. And what's fun is that the pro guys that are there maybe all summer, they get to see some of these kids improve, and they'll make comments, not necessarily in front of them, but they're like, oh, a couple weeks ago that guy did not look as well running or jumping. Or they'll see the progress too, and I think it's encouraging for them to see the younger generation come up.
And then because you see one of them, you're like, damn, that kid can move, or good gosh, that kid's humongous. Or, yeah.
And it's really fun when they start to encourage the younger kids, and then they start to feel really empowered when they have a pro athlete saying like, good job, dude, or cheering you on. Then it's like something that they can remember and pushes them even that much harder.
Yeah, and their ability. I know, like our buddy Wes, he was in here the other day. It was talking about, he can get sport specific coaching. He played catcher, and he can go talk to the Astros catcher or whoever, and, start to get, advice from an MLB guy while he's in high school.
Yeah. It's something that you can't find.
Many places. That is worth its weight in gold. And, the community, yes, you got to put in the work, but having those hallway conversations are just, are super important, man.
Absolutely.
Priceless.
Yeah, the camaraderie. I mean, even at the pro level, when we have some veterans in baseball, for example, if we have some 10-year veterans that also are training with some minor league guys, the difference in experience there obviously is pretty big. And the camaraderie that they're able to take a minor league guy under their wing and be like, hey, man, I know you're going through this right now. This is the best way to handle it. You should look for these type of things, work on this. That's going to help you get to the next level. That's so invaluable to these guys.
Yeah, and I think I brought one of my friends who's trying out for the Olympics and track in to do an assessment with you guys,
That's right.
And I was really encouraging him, like, hey, track is an individual sport. You're out there kind of on your own. You want to be around some other pro athletes. You want to be around the pro baseball guys, even though the sport specific stuff is different. But just being at that level, seeing what that mindset is like. and just being friends and comparing notes and, and being in awe, some of these NFL guys, I'm like, good gosh, and then some of the baseball guys, when I see him swing a bat, I'm like, wow. And the track guy, when I see the dynamic stuff that he can do, I'm blown away. And I think each athlete can respect that about each other's sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And that encourages the kind of multifunctional movement to like, you're being encouraged to do something else a little bit better. For example, like the track guy who maybe is a 100-meter sprinter, it can run straight perfectly, but his lateral movement is a little lacking because they didn't do that as much.
Yeah.
Sees the cornerback move laterally, is like, man, I need to work on that a little bit better. And vice versa. When you see someone who moves laterally, or as a catcher, for example, see a track athlete and you think, oh man, I could do a little bit better in that aspect of my fitness or my, functional movement. And guys can feed off one another. And it really just breeds like people getting after it even more and people being encouraged and looking to improve.
Yeah. So how about sport specific stuff? Can you see, like, if you take a kid in high school that comes in and he's a good baseball player, can you look at him and be like, okay, yeah, he can play in college, or man, this guy might have a shot at the big leagues?
Yeah. I think when we see a guy, there's a lot of things that we can notice in the assessment process.
Or really just like within the first hour or two.
I mean, some of it is just body type and some of it is, do they have the size to make it to the next level?
Sure.
And that's the case for a lot of things. But yes, there's some mobility markers we can look at. Size obviously helps, or like a height or a wingspan to height ratio. Those type of things could be pretty telling. And then just seeing their initial explosive movement, like seeing someone do a broad jump can tell you a lot, or seeing someone just sprint, even if it's like 10 yards, seeing their explosive movement, that can tell you a lot. It's not going to be a for sure indicator, but it can tell you, okay, this guy has some explosive power. They have a good size. Now the question comes down to, are they willing to put in the work? Are they consistent? Like, because obviously if you're a baseball player, it's a very skilled sport. So it's going to require obviously hard work in the gym to get your body ready. And then it's going to take a lot of work on the field to refine your technique and your movement. And then that's a long process, man. Baseball, like any sport, is a grind when you're going through so many different games, trying to improve slightly, trying to increase your velocity from 90 to 91 to 92, You know what I mean?
That's a grind.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Yeah, and staying healthy while you're doing that.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you could tell within the first hour someone's natural ability and where you think they're going to shake out, and then make a recommendation if they want to go further. This is what they need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, potential is a big thing that you can recognize, but that doesn't take away from someone who we see come in and think, man, this guy doesn't really have all the factors. Hard work can obviously overcome a lot of that.
Yeah.
And there's still room for improvement in a lot of areas. And there are probably a couple positions in pro sports that you're not gonna qualify for. If someone walks in,
I'm not playing offensive line.
Right. You're not playing center or forward in the NBA. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But there are things that you can develop and work hard towards, and with the right tools and attitude, you can take it to the furthest level possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I've always thought like you should pick a personal trainer that you want to look like. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty solid idea. I mean, I guess it depends on what if your main goal was aesthetics, then definitely, because that person is what you want to look like.
That's fair.
Your main goal is looking
sports performance versus looking good.
Right. I mean, you could say the same thing about their accomplishments, or like, I want my trainer to have played MLB baseball before, or college baseball, or whatever,
Yeah.
Which is why I think, pretty much, I think everyone, maybe except for one of our trainers, played collegiate sports. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that, that gives us a lot of street cred, per se, with some of the clients, because they understand, like, we've been through the grind that they're in right now.
Yeah.
We all trained hard through high school, at our sport, and in the gym. And we have a little bit of, perspective to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been in the water. You're not just
absolutely
coaching a sport you don't know anything about.
Yeah. Like if I was a kid coming into a gym, I would want someone who played baseball at a high level if I was trying to be the best baseball player that I could
Attracts.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of someone who, maybe doesn't know as much about baseball. But fortunately for us, like, we've gotten the opportunity to work with a lot of different athletes and a lot of different sports. And so we've all had to learn, obviously, for each athlete, their sport a little bit better, and then track and see the best way to train athletes in that sport. So I think at this point, like, a lot of us have gained some very great experience in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
Which helps us be
Well, yeah, because y'all are so many different guys from. I mean, y'all have coached everybody now, and so
Right.
even though you didn't play pro football, you know a ton about pro football just from all the guys that have been in there.
Right.
And so the reason I say that, I've been around and worked out with, and know people that worked out with, like like the bodybuilder, powerlifting kind of guys that are just like all about that heavy weight and all about that mass. And I think they naturally put that on their clients, and injuries roll up. So like if I'm a soccer mom trying to get in good shape, I'm going to pick like one of your female trainers there that I want to look like, that I see doing the same exercises I want. That's just how my brain works. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Versus,
I think that tracks.
Yeah.
And especially if your main focus is what you want to look like, if that's the main goal.
yeah.
Or, someone who has trained, if your focus is speed, yeah, I would definitely be looking at which
And
trainers
I should back that up. When I say look like, I don't mean necessarily like I want my body to look like your body, but I want to be able to do 30 pull-ups with 180 pounds on my back. So I'm going to work out with you versus the yoga instructor that I don't need a lot of yoga in my life. I need some mass in my life.
Yeah. No, I think that tracks well. I think what FSP is good at is we have such a variety of clients that all the trainers that we have some experience with each type of client, whether their main focus is just speed. I don't care about size. I just want to be able to run faster. Or I don't care about running faster. I just want to get as big as I can.
Yeah.
Or, I want the combination of the both. I'm trying to be the best athlete I can be. I want to lose fat. I want to put on weight. All those type of things, like the trainers have had experience with, because we have such a wide variety of clients.
So you can put this guy in the wants to lose 10% body fat bucket, and this guy into wants to get more explosive, and then y'all create the plan for that.
Right. And then that's why it's, so good. Each client that comes in has their own folder.
Literally, I see y'all literally have the own folder. You're writing down everything they do. You're tracking it. You're checking in on all the metrics from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. Every few weeks we can, reassess a few things that are the most important, and then that helps us write their, next couple weeks of programming.
Yeah, that's pretty darn solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk results for just a second. So people often say, like, what's the number one thing you see that takes people out?
That takes people out?
Yeah, that has somebody not perform well.
From the training side of things?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the age. I think if we were talking about high school kids, college kids, I think by and large, probably the most common thing is going to be like a back injury that happens. And that's usually done when somebody is doing more weight than they should.
Okay.
And with not great form. And that's so one thing that we really harp on at FSP is starting in a slow, controlled tempo.
Yeah.
Making sure that technique is perfect. The one-on-one training we do is focused on our eyes are on every rep.
Yeah, you're dialed in.
Yeah, we're dialed in. And that's the focus, making sure that our clients understand the importance of the small things. Because when you start building up progressive overload, you get to a point where if your hips aren't engaged in a way, your core is not engaged, you forget to brace this, you're doing this with your leg differently, that's what's going to lead to a back injury or this. Like I'd say, shoulders, back, every once in a while, knee, like those type of things are the things that take people out.
What about things outside the gym, like partying, sleep, nutrition?
Yeah. By far, it's going to be like the most detrimental things are going to be sleep and then alcohol.
Yeah.
That really, really affects some people. Like I train some people early in the morning, and you can tell when they didn't get enough sleep, and even during the day sometimes.
Yeah,
like they just come in more
sometimes
sluggish.
I roll in there, and I'm like, it might be noon when I'm in there, but you can tell I was dragging.
Yeah, and some of the high school, like during the summer, that's some of the struggle we get because the high school kids want to sleep in, and then maybe their class is at 10 or they come in at 10. They're like, oh, I woke up at 9:45, and I'm like, dude, we got to get ready to roll.
Yeah,
you can't do that. Like
you got to drink some water. You got to eat a little something.
Because that's going to affect performance, which in turn will affect results. Like you can't. It's good to put in the work, but the work you put in is not always equal. You know what I mean? If you roll in there and you're not prepared, you can't give it your best. You just don't have it.
Yeah, and then your recovery is not going to be there. Even if you overtrain, that's when you're at risk for injuries and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay, so making sure people get enough sleep. See, that's why I'm an afternoon workout guy, dude.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because I can't, if I used to try to do 8 a.m. stuff, I'm just, no, I'm going to do it in the afternoon. I know some guys are like, I have to get it in the morning and then I earn my day, the kind of that whole Jocko mentality,
Yeah.
like that's cool, more power to him. Not me, man. I want to do well. And sometimes that means sleeping a little extra. Sometimes that means eating a little extra or whatever. And so I push it back in the afternoon for better performance.
Yeah, I think that's important for most people. A lot of times it requires, like, not everybody has that much freedom in their schedule. And so a lot of
Yeah,
times,
that's fair.
I mean, if it's important enough, you'll find the time in your schedule that it works. You know, people
Yeah.
have kids, jobs, sports kind of thing. Like, you find the time in your schedule, and then you can rearrange your sleep time necessarily to like be optimal for your lifting.
Dude, I heard that there's a friend of mine named Jay Monroe. He's a real successful real estate agent here in Houston. He, like one of the top dogs for, I don't know, long time, decades maybe. And people want to go look at houses on their lunch break, like at 12 o'clock, and like, I can't remember his schedule, but it was like every Monday and Wednesday and Friday, he goes swimming at 12 o'clock. And he put it in his calendar like, nope, I'm going swimming every day at 12 o'clock. Is he trying to be a professional swimmer? No, but swimming is his sport and it keeps him sane and he loves it. And that's part of the glue that has his life work.
Yeah.
And he turns down a lot of business every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He just says, no, sorry, I've already got an appointment. I can do it after work or whenever. But I thought that's really cool, and I've seen that a lot in life. Super successful people. It's really easy to quit to use work or family as an excuse for not staying in great shape.
Yeah.
But I've seen so many successful people that make it a priority, and it is time out of their day. But if you're walking around at the best version of Jonathan all day, you're going to perform better at your house, at your school, at your sport, at whatever. And so I think there's so much more, like you can't afford not to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Financially and time wise, like
Yeah.
investing in your own, like this body is a vehicle that's got to take me a lot of places I got at least like 45 more years left in this model. You know what I mean? Like if I'm screwing it up now, I mean, you see people in their 80s that can't move around very much. I mean, that's no fun, so, and what is it? Health is wealth, are you investing? I think, man, it's money well spent and time well spent. I don't know what else you could spend your time or money on that would be a better investment. Like, I mean, yes, you can't neglect your family. And I mean, those things are important, but we're talking an hour or two a day. You know what I mean? There's 24 hours you got to work with. If you spend 8 of them sleeping and 2 of them, working out, you still got 14 for family and work. So
Yeah.
come on. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll hop on this forever, but I think the best thing that you can do for yourself in any realm of fitness, whether it's, sports, you just want to stay in shape, or any kind of thing in fitness, the number one thing that's going to help you be successful is consistency. It doesn't, sometimes some days are not going to be good, but showing up matters. And some days you're going to feel really great and showing up matters. So consistency over the course of a long period of time, that pays dividends. I mean, you're compounding your health. The longer you do it, the better you are off. And I think that consistency is the one thing that I think if you want to get started in fitness and you want to be successful, however many years down the road, consistency is going to be the key.
So our friend Karen downstairs was asking us when we were walking up to do the podcast, what do you do when you're not motivated? What do you do when life takes you out? What do you do when somebody passes away or you're moving or like, like what advice do you have for people that are going through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that turns into a mindset thing. I mean, I have a lot of people who I know will say, hey, like, I don't have time right now. I can't fit in my schedule, or work is just really busy, this and that. But I think, like you were talking about, health is wealth and how important being healthy is. You can't afford to take time off, and because then that becomes a habit as well. The inconsistency.
Yeah. You let things derail you.
Right. And then then it becomes that much more difficult to get back into the gym. And so I think it has to be a mindset thing of this is non-negotiable. I have to be able to make time to get in there, or else it's not going to happen. And then before you know it, you look up and it's been a few years have passed and be like, dude, I'm way out of shape, and then this and that. And so I think a mindset, and that's why a lot of people have personal trainers, because it helps them stay accountable. And it does help a lot.
Knowing
of people.
that I have to meet you at 12 o'clock,
Right.
I am going to be there. If I said I was going to go do pull-ups at the park by myself at 12 o'clock, may or may not happen.
Right. Things can get in the way. But especially when I have someone waiting for me, I have a bill to pay. Those kind of things are gonna really motivate someone to get there. You're on somebody's schedule. I'm expecting you. If you don't show up, I'm gonna be texting you, be like, "Hey Frost, are we still meeting today?"
Yeah.
kind of thing. And yeah, that matters. I think that really forced people to stay consistent.
So one of the things I tell people, sometimes somebody comes in and goes, "Hey coach, I just lost my job. I can't afford this. I need to not be a member till I find a new job." And I'm like, "Hey bro, this is not the time to stop working out. Like you're about to be depressed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
losing your job and like looking for a new one sucks.
Yeah.
And like taking something out of your life that is helping you, I'm like, keep coming. We won't bill you for a month or two or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
don't take away something that's one of the best things in your life because you're going through it. Same thing if somebody died, family member, yes, everybody grieves differently. You need your alone time. I certainly need my alone time when I'm going through for a day or two or sort of thing. But getting plugged back into like the people at y'all shop, it's good vibes up there. People here on the mat, it's good community. Like you can't, like that sort of stuff, you don't realize how important that is in your day to day. And when you take that out, when you're going through the hard stuff, man, that's just asking for a bigger crash than you would have if you were still grinding it out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I know that MMA and Jiu-Jitsu is such a big pick me up for a lot of people, and fitness is too. The confidence that it gives you, and like having an appointment with someone, again, going back to like that helps you get up out of bed if you're going through it, if things are not going well, like it makes you be on, because you're like, if I walk in there depressed, like I'm gonna get my butt kicked, I need to be ready for this, that sort of thing. Like it holds you accountable to continue moving on. And I promise you, if you walk into FSP, all the trainers, because our gym is so niche and everyone is just such a great person, every trainer is going to know who you are, and they're going to greet you when you walk in.
It's true.
And then
every time I walk in, every one of your guys goes, "Hey Frost, fist bump." Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time, and I promise you, it's going to be a pick me up in your attitude and in your day. And
how do y'all just tell people like get good at names, review these names, look at these pictures? I mean, how do y'all? Because there's a lot of people come through there. How do you memorize them?
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, we're fortunate to just have quality people that work for us. I mean, we just have such a great group of guys that work there that comes naturally to all
girls.
of them.
Guys and girls.
That's right. Yeah, we have both quality guy and girl trainers that just comes naturally to them. They love people, and they see a lot of joy seeing the same faces come in, and like everyone wants to build relationships with everyone. I mean, that enhances the culture.
Yeah.
And I feel it with just the trainers ourselves. Sometimes when we get in there and we have a chance to work out together, like the vibes and the culture of the gym is the best that I've ever experienced.
Yeah, y'all always have some friendly competition who can do the most whatevers, and something's always going on with you guys.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing is we got a lot of studs, basically.
You do, man.
Everyone's good at something different.
Yeah, right? I mean, some track stars, some people that can lift a lot of weight. You got everybody in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got to ask you, did you see the Pete and Bobby challenge, the Pete Hegseth and Bobby Kennedy pull-up, push-up challenge thing?
Yes, I did.
Did you watch any of the videos on it?
I didn't. I remember them doing that, though.
I meant to ask you about this when we were working out, but I love the concept. It was like, can you do 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups? And they had it, I can't remember, it was like under 5 minutes or under 10 minutes, or they had some 30, I don't remember what the timestamp on it was. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's kind of like the Murph. It's kind of a version of the Murph. But I was like, I feel like they should have just gone with the Murph. Like, it's already a thing. Like, if those guys, even if they had to do a modified Murph, because maybe RFK can't run a mile like he used to. I don't know. He's kind of a beast, so maybe he could. But I was like, the whole for time thing, I gotta say, I got a little discouraged because I watched some of the videos of those guys doing it, and the last few pull-ups they did were just like these total wimpy pull-ups. I'm like, those don't count, bro. You know what I mean? You're trying to set some PR time thing. Well, if I just did my pull-ups like this, I could set a PR too, and they're baby push-ups. Now, some of the people in the background of the video, they had all these military guys, these Marine girls in there, and they were banging it out. I mean, they were clearly studs, but I was like, guys, I like your intention here, but you got to do the real pull-ups, right?
Yeah, pull-ups and push-ups. I mean, you were there when we did the Murph.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of variations of pull-ups and push-ups that you can see people do.
Yes, dude.
And it's one of the hardest things because everyone's working hard. It's not like you're not
It's
trying.
hard. Yeah, you're
hard.
out of gas. I mean,
and sometimes you may get a little like, I think I'm doing a real pull-up. I actually can't tell.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I've seen some
I
people
felt
like
that too.
I'm
I
like,
feel like I'm going all the way down.
because I've
but
had
I'm not.
clients like that. They're like, no, I am getting my chin above the bar, and I take a video. I'm like, dude, you still got a few more inches, or getting full extension at the bottom. That's a hard thing because pull-ups obviously are hard. You get fatigued, your muscles are pumped, you feel like you're getting fully extended, but you're really stopping about 3/4 of the way down, or your eyes are getting above the bar. You think your chin's getting above the bar. But yeah, I'd say one of the things that I personally hold close to me is like form on exercises is very, very important.
So you like form over volume?
Yeah,
So,
I will always shoot. Like I will always choose form and
so
technique.
if I can do 10 iffy pull-ups or 6 legit ones, what are you coaching me to do?
Yeah, I would coach you to do the perfect pull-ups, and then we'll go from there. Whatever that number is, if it's 0, we'll start.
But what
from
if
there.
I feel like such a wimp, dude? I can only do 1. Come on, man. But I can do 4 the other way.
Well, I'd say we're gonna max out the perfection, and then if your goal really is to just to hammer it, then we can do some modified versions or some different variations. But we're gonna start and try to build
some feel good
stuff. But we're gonna
Okay.
start and perfect the perfect ones and try to build upon that before we get into
Okay, so
other
you
variations.
you would let me like, okay, you'd be like, Frost, you go slow, do the right form. I know you can only do 2, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, okay, man, get some feel good ones in before you get out of
Yeah,
here.
unless that I think that you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of things that I would say we're definitely not doing this.
Yeah.
There's a couple things like, okay, this is not smart. I advise against it because it's a high risk of pulling something or something like that. But I think there's a time and place for most movements.
So have you ever had a client come in consistently, whatever it is, 1, 2, 3 days a week, and got worse?
Got worse?
Yeah, like couldn't like went down in their ability to perform at this various sport?
That's a good question. Not that I can think of off the
Right.
top of my head.
So it works.
Yeah.
So if you're consistent and you come all the time, you get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing for jiu-jitsu. Like if you come, like day 1 might suck, and day 2 might suck, and week 2 might suck,
Yeah.
and month 2 might suck. But I've never had somebody that's been here 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year that's worse
Right.
than they were on day 1.
Oh yeah. No, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. If you come, you're gonna get better.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I mean, a part of that's one of the biggest battles is mentally showing up consistently. And there's been some people who come in very intermittently. Like they'll come in for 2 weeks and they'll say, "Oh, I'm traveling and I got to do this, I got to do that," and they miss a month, and then they come back and maybe they're worse, and then we just kind of start over. But that's kind of a different process.
That's a different process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you come in consistently, even if it is just once a week, unless you're completely wrecking your body outside of that 1 day a week,
I've had
you're gonna
great
improve.
results with 1 day a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you're consistent in the movement, like 1 day a week, you may stay on some exercises a little bit longer.
Yes.
Because you're only getting 1 exposure per week. But absolutely, you're going to see improvements. We have a lot of clients who come in 3 or 4 days a week, and we may switch up the programming every 4 to 6 weeks or so, if they're mastering the movements.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're seeing lots of progress.
Yeah. And like your NFL and MLB guys in the off season, they're there Mondays, Tuesdays, they take Wednesday off, then
Right.
they're there Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're
yeah.
4 days a week putting in the work.
4 days a week, and those guys will train for hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on what part of the off season they're in.
Yeah. And then they'll go batting practice or throw or
whatever.
some agility stuff. Or
Yeah, usually the pro athletes, when they first come out of season, the original, the initial phase, they're probably not doing.
They don't touch a baseball.
Probably not
For a month or
for
whatever.
about a month or a bat or whatever, and they're just focusing on kind of like getting their body back to neutral,
Like rehabbing the shoulder. Cause
whatever. Like they just spent 162 games, if we're talking baseball, or 17 games in the NFL, beating their body up, doing their sport. They need some recovery, and maybe they'll take a week or 2 to let their body just completely
just
rest,
kind of do nothing and chill.
But when they come into us, like our job is to get them back to neutral, and then we can start our real off season, prepare preseason. We're amping things up a little bit.
So how long does the neutral phase last with them?
I mean, typically we'll start with 4 weeks, and it may be different for some people if
What
they're
do you
like,
call it? Like phase 1?
yeah, we would call phase 1, where, like we said, we're doing some of the slow controlled eccentrics, and we're making sure that the movement again is quality, the technique is perfect. Any unilateral disparities they have. We're trying to fix those,
Look at
adjust
you,
the body.
unilateral. This is that college degree coming out, man.
No, yeah. So any of those disparities, like we're looking at, and we're trying to, again, get them back to neutral, because a lot of the athletes are, they train where one side is doing more work than the other, right? For example, baseball pitchers,
Sure.
even hitters, like you swing, unless you're a switch hitter, you swing one side of the plate, and you're doing that however many times,
Do they
hundreds,
get pretty out of
thousands.
whack?
Sometimes, yeah. Hips, shoulders,
Hip, shoulder. I mean, it's like carrying a backpack on your shoulder every day in high school. You got
yeah,
that
but they've
shit
been
that-
doing it their whole life. And so your goal is to get them back to where they feel pretty good.
I've seen you in there like pushing on them. You're literally like pushing on their joints and stuff.
I mean,
trying
man,
to get them to
if
stretch.
like for a baseball season, you have spring training, right? You already start throwing before you get to spring training.
Yeah.
You have spring training for a month plus. You go to the season, you play a full season, it's 162 games. You make the playoffs, it's another 15, 20 games. I mean, how many throws did you make over the course of that season, and your body is just stuck in one spot?
Golly.
So it's a big difference.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. All right, so you get them unstuck for the first month, and then the next month is when you start piling on the performance.
Yeah, it starts to build up. It's a slow, gradual build up to their season again. It's not really. I would say there's a phase where we're getting them back to neutral, kind of letting their body recover, and then we start building some strength, and then we start building some explosiveness, and then it's a little bit more sport specific. If I was just giving a quick rundown on what the off season would look like.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but Devin, our producer over here, she tries to mute our things when we drink. So we could just kind of keep messing with her
sorry.
if you want.
Sorry,
And
Devin.
we can keep her running
I have
on.
8 arms.
She's got a bunch of arms. She's working it. She does a great job. Thank you, Devin, for making us look good.
Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else difference that you can see between? Okay. So you mentioned like you see a kid come in, you're like, okay, he's got this giant wingspan. He's tall.
Yeah.
He's got all the tools. I know he's going to make it. But anything else like attitude wise that you are any like standouts where you're like, dude, I mean, if this, you know what I mean? Do you see
Yeah.
some that are like, I don't know, he's kind of a whiner, or,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the variety of clients that we have in the gym is pretty remarkable. But I can always tell, because there are some people that come in and, we do the initial assessment. And when we do that assessment, they've just signed up for an assessment evaluation, which is not like a workout. It's just our way to get to understand where they're at, get goals.
which is cool. I should indicate, even if you don't want to work out at FSP, just going and getting an assessment. Like when I did mine, I was really surprised at some of the, Ben was like, dude, you're pretty good in some of these areas and you're like crazy inefficient at these other areas.
Right.
And so even if I didn't go work out with you guys, I would at least know like, oh, I need to start working some movements in this direction to get my hips sorted out.
Yeah, it can be eye opening in a few areas. But what I was saying about the assessment, when people come in to do that, you could tell immediately how hungry they are to start training, because there are some people that come in and they think, okay, I'm doing this assessment, I'm a little skeptical, I don't know, I got all these other commitments. I'll get back to you on when I'm going to train, kind of thing.
Yes.
And then there are people that come in and like say, can I train right now? Can I train today or tomorrow?
Yeah. Like, well, how come I thought we were going to be lifting today?
Yeah,
You're just
exactly.
measuring
And there are
me.
people
Yeah.
that are like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, I've been really surprised that there are some high school athletes around town that, I mean, they're hungry. Like they come in and they know what we're about, and they're like ready to train, ready to go hard. And that's really admirable. There, some people come in and like, can I train 6 days a week? And we're like, yeah, you could, obviously, but our goal would be, I think, let's start with this, 4 days a week, 2 upper, 2 lower, get your body in a position that, you can handle. We know you're understanding the workouts and doing things. And then if there's a need for some additional days, like we can talk about what those might be filled with. But yeah, there's a big mindset shift. There are definitely some people who their parents drag them in, and you could tell they're dragging their feet and they're a little skeptical or whatever. But most of the time, if they come in for a few sessions and understand what we do, we'll go over some corrective warm-up movements and try to help them improve their posture, mobility in some areas, and then go over some agility. They'll understand the value of what we do and how we do it. And there's definitely a lot of people that buy in and say, all right, like I understand. And then after they committed to 2 days, they're like, okay, let's do 4 days, because they see the value in what we do.
Let me ask you this. The millennials a few years ago, which I think you're a millennial, right?
I would.
You
fall in
guys
that
were
category.
getting a hard time years ago. They're like, these millennials, man. Though I'm in my mid 40s, so I'm technically Gen X. And so and then these iPad kids these days, they're getting it even worse than the millennials, right? What do you see rolling through your door? Do you see hardworking people that grind it out, tough, World War II generation type mentality? Or do you see like these kids need to toughen it up a little bit? Like, where are you at with that?
Yeah. It really depends. I think sometimes it's less of a difference of kids. A lot of times we have kids that are in high school that come in, and if they're at the varsity level, I see a lot of kids that are hungry and ready to put in work.
Yeah.
Kids that haven't quite made it to the varsity level sometimes walk in and they're not as serious.
Is that why they're not at the varsity level, or they're just not old enough or mature enough?
I think it's a combination.
Okay.
We've had the full gamut. So we've had not very likely that you're going to see some middle school kids come in and like think all I want to do is work. It's just not going to happen because of maturity level.
Yeah.
But when you're in high school, there's a wider variety of, you will have both. You'll have kids who come in and they're still going to goof off. They just want to chat with the other kids, or, stall. They'll try to create conversation and stall, like that sort of thing. And then you have some high school kids who will come in and they're hungry.
They're dialed in.
They want to make it to the next level, or maybe they're trying to make varsity, or they're trying to make all state or whatever and get a college offer. And they're dialed in.
Man, I see that too. Rarely do we get like a kid in our jiu-jitsu class that's, say, between the ages of 7 and 12. There's a few of them out there that show up here ready to work. They're not here to make friends.
Yeah.
They're here to get better, which isn't always great. Like, you need to make friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't be too hardcore when you're 8, but you could definitely see the ones. And I think that's so important with any kid in any sport, is like, whenever that kid makes up their mind that they want to get good at it, they're going to get good at it. I think parents often push too hard. If I played baseball and want my kid to play baseball, I push too much baseball on them. By the time they hit high school, they're burned out. They quit baseball their freshman or sophomore year. When if you'd have just left them alone, they probably would have naturally gravitated towards it. Maybe they wouldn't have thrown the no-hitter in 7th grade, but they would still be playing baseball their senior year, Yeah. So just giving these kids time. If the kid's all about it, put them in the Premier League, the Travel League, send them to F. If they're into it, great. But if they're not into it, just chill, dude. They'll get into something.
Yeah, that's another, like, I'd say, perk of the one-on-one training that we do, is not only like specific fitness programming, sport specific programming. I think the personal relationship that you can have with a kid on one-on-one can drastically change how their outlook is on the sport and training.
Interesting.
If you're able to give them that like if I'm coaching a kid one-on-one, I can help meet him where he's at. Like, if he's like, dude, I'm not just feeling it today, like I'm getting a little burned out, or
so you're like their therapist and their weight coach, sorta.
Yeah, I would say I've definitely had the comments of therapists. I mean, we talk a lot. You spend an hour plus together, especially some kids that come in 4 days a week. Like, that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time with them.
That's a lot of time with them, and they're in a vulnerable spot when they come in. That they're not as their friends are not around, and they're not like worrying about saying the wrong thing. Like, it's a safe space, and so you get to know people pretty intimately, and it definitely pays dividends to be able to give a little encouragement and help them push them in the right direction.
That's
give them
pretty solid. So you're acting as a mentor. You're not just there telling them to do the reps. I mean, you're mentoring them a little bit too.
Yeah, because if we look at some of the group sessions, I mean, we have some small group sessions in the summer, but even then it's still pretty close and intimate. But like, if you go to a place where it's one coach and 15 kids, the coach is obviously going to be yelling, trying to corral everyone, get everyone to do the same thing, which, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can't be as personal. You can't be as specifically encouraging to each kid as you obviously would in a one-on-one setting.
Well, what I'm hearing is if I'm a parent and I'm on the fence, like, do I really want to pay for my kid to go get private personal training? I mean, he's in 8th grade. I don't know, just tell him to go do some push-ups in the garage, or surely he's going to do it in off-season football or whatever. But there's an extra value to it called your kid is spending an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 a week with a grown-ass man with good manners, with good values around other grown-ass men. He gets to see how grown men behave, and that is probably worth more than how fast they can throw the baseball.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of character development, I think, that can happen in the gym generally, because you're doing hard things and you're pushing yourself. And so, yes, I think coming in, sticking to a schedule, being consistent and working hard, and with someone who most likely has done what you want to do at a high level, that value is unmatched.
That's pretty solid. So is that a fun perk of your job, like knowing you have influence and like I know just sort of your Christian values, you generally like helping people and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Is that kind of a fun perk to your deal?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, we're fortunate to draw in quality people. Like generally, we don't get a lot of kids who come in and be like, I don't want to be here, or this kind of sucks, and
Yeah.
that sort of attitude. Just not a lot of people that come in and
You
do
have
that.
great clients, yeah.
especially not at the like pro level or
Yeah.
we just don't. Fortunately,
You
don't.
can't make it as a pro if you got a bad attitude.
Yeah, and so absolutely, man. Seeing a kid, we've had some kids come in, like middle school kids or freshmen this year. That one specific kid came in this summer, and he had some work to do. He's like, I talked to the coach. He said, "This is what I need to do to make varsity this year." And he came in all summer, and showed up. He was consistent, not necessarily bringing his best every day, as far as like attitude and preparedness, but he showed up every day. Some days we put in a lot of work. Some days we adjusted and had to pull back a little bit. But over the course of the summer, worked on a lot of different things. Found that he made the starting role, and that is so satisfying as a coach to see a kid who put in a lot of hard work. They, maybe were against the odds and didn't have like a great chance, and then they got a position that they were really shooting for. That's one of the greatest feelings as a coach.
That's
You
awesome.
like walk them through that, both mentally and
Yeah.
physically.
I see you guys even like go to their games and stuff.
Yeah, it's really really fun to go to their games and see them on sport, because we see them so much, but in the gym we don't see them in uniform or getting to do what they're actually great
Yeah.
at.
Y'all get fired up when someone's going to compete at something. And
Oh man, yeah, it's a lot of fun too sometimes, because we have a lot of high school kids and they'll play each other during the seasons, and so it's a lot of fun. Be like, you learn not to become such a big fan of teams, but players,
but the individual.
yeah. And so we'll go to a local game of like
Memorial
Second
versus
Baptist, St.
Stratford or
Thomas,
whatever.
Memorial
Yeah.
Stratford, and
Yeah.
see kids. And we're like, all right, I'm rooting for this guy on defense and this guy on offense, and same thing at the pro level. Some of our guys,
That's true.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun too. I mean, that's what I've noticed too. So like some of the guys will be on the Astros for 2 or 3 years, and then
Yeah.
they'll be on the Cubs for the next year. And I'm less like, I mean, I live in Houston. Generally, I want the Astros to win. Although our
Yeah.
attendance gets killed here at Elite MMA when the Astros are in the playoffs. Nobody comes and trains. People will put the game on the TV at the gym. You can still get your jiu-jitsu in and watch the baseball. But yeah, I want the Astros to win, but I'm more like, okay, there's so and so, and I want to make sure, like, how did he do to this other team this next year?
Yeah.
It is a real individual camaraderie.
Yeah, you really root for the players, because you see them on such a personal level, and you know what they're going through. I think a lot of times for us, when we're fans of a team, we think, oh man, like why don't they just sign for the team, take less money, or why aren't they doing this, or why aren't they doing that? To get to know some of the pro players and see why they make the decisions, or how they're being treated by the clubs, or whatever the case may be. You get to know kind of the backstory of some of these decisions that you wouldn't know, the news doesn't cover, which is a very cool thing. And then you get to see like people who are competing against each other in season be friends in the gym and know like,
I like that. I'm filing this away. I'm not rooting. I mean, the Texans will break your heart. They will. You get hopeful, and then there's a letdown.
yeah,
But the individual players, you can root for them. Even when they retire, you're like, hey, man, job well done.
Absolutely.
You did it, dude.
yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to root for somebody's career. And like obviously at FSP, we've had the opportunity to train some people who have had very long and tenured careers. And that's super fun to see a kid or see an athlete in the NFL being like, yo, this is the oldest player in the NFL at his position. Like being able to maintain that level
that's cool.
of athleticism and drive
At that age,
at
without
that
all the
age, I mean,
injuries.
is so amazing. Or seeing people, it's a big deal in the MLB to get 10 years of service time.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of when you get your full tenure in the MLB. And so seeing some athletes make it 10 years, which is obviously way longer than the average time spent in the MLB.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really cool to see.
All right. So this is sort of a work-life balance question that could be geared towards someone like you who's a coach, who I know you as somebody who's at the gym at like 5 a.m. What time are you waking up?
Yeah, my first client's at 5 a.m., so I usually roll into the gym between 4:45 and 4:50.
He's a real psycho, man, that guy. I know that guy. All right, so you're rolling up the gym at 4:50 to get the red carpet rolled out for our buddy. And And then like, how late do you work?
Well, so when I first started at the gym, so I've been at FSP almost 6 years now, about
Yep.
5.5 years, close to 6. And when I first worked there, obviously my schedule is not as dense, and so the early mornings typically are busier. There's some lulls throughout the day depending on your
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah.
But I would work until 7:30.
So you're putting in a full day. And then you got married, and now you got a couple kids.
That's right, yeah. So I
And you
have
got to
two little
sleep
ones.
sometimes.
Yeah, so I have 2 little ones, and when you have little kids, like they have a bedtime and that sort of thing, and that bedtime usually is around 7 or 7:30.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't get to see them in the morning a lot of times, and so I worked out a way with my schedule where I can have a more dense and busy morning and afternoon, and then typically I'll head home.
You can get home in
sometime
time to do the
between
dad thing.
3 and 5. And
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got it managed. So what advice would you have? This could apply to an athlete, but let's direct it more towards like someone who's thinking about getting into the coaching or personal training or any type of coaching role. What advice would you have for them on work-life balance or, how to grind it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously training is not as normal as some other desk jobs and like these are your hours you're going to work, and so you almost have to work around that. There are people that have flexible schedules and can come during normal work hours, but I would say like do your best to try and fill your schedule in a way that works for you, but then don't be afraid to embrace a more irregular schedule, at least when you're starting. But be careful you don't waste the time that you have off. Just because you have an hour and a half or 2 hour break here, another hour break here, 45 minutes, that time can still be productive in different ways.
Don't scroll on Facebook. For
No, I
those
mean,
hours.
you can have your workout here, eat lunch here, write some programs in this time, do that. It's just being able to be,
Go on a lunch date with the wife, put in some family time there.
yeah, exactly. Like picking up, like earlier this week, I got to pick up my daughter from school during the lunch break, and that works for me. And I had an hour and a half. I could drive to school, pick her up, take her home,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And that works. And I'm right back at work. Fortunately, I live close enough to the gym where I could do that.
That's another thing too that I think makes you and the culture at FSP successful is time management. You guys have never been late to a single session. I've been training there for around 3 years or so.
Yeah.
I've never seen you guys even 30 seconds late. And I think you got to be pretty disciplined and structured to be successful in that environment that way.
Yeah, we definitely, I would say FSP, like professionalism is very high importance to us.
Yeah.
And so the quality of the training and the quality of the service that we provide to clients is of the utmost importance. And obviously that starts with being on time for the session.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is hard for some people, but y'all do it, man.
Yeah, we love that.
Okay. Any other tips on just like recovery, sleep, protein, creatine, supplements? Like what's your general thought process in that?
Yeah, man. I love that question because I love that there's so much more thought going into health and fitness now than ever before. I think that's real. Like there are way more kids training in the gym now than ever before, even like for sport, but also just general fitness as well. I mean, I love seeing like high school, middle school kids at the gym because that was not really as popular unless you played a sport, unless you were trying to be the best of your sport. But, I think there's a lot of research done for protein, creatine. Generally, I'd say that all those things are good. But understanding like what works for you, understanding timing of some of those things, knowing what sport you play or how much effort you're giving out to know how much protein or creatine you should be putting in, because it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Let's take you, for example, if you don't mind sharing your stuff.
Yeah.
Do you take protein shakes?
On occasion. I prefer not to do protein shakes, some because I like to eat. So if I need some protein, I would rather have,
Hammer,
some steak
chicken
or chicken
fish or whatever.
Yeah, than have a protein shake. But on the go in a pinch, sometimes
That's
it's
all you got.
necessary.
Yeah. And is it true, like after you work out, within about 30 minutes, you want to get some protein in you?
Yeah, I'd probably say the window's bigger than 30 minutes, but
Okay.
but yeah, generally speaking, you should definitely try to have some protein after you work out.
And before a workout, what time do you recommend people eat before they come work out?
That would also depend on the person and like what type of workout you're doing. There are some people, including myself, that if they have a workout in the morning, they don't like to eat. They don't like to have something on their stomach when they're, pushing hard or going hard. And there are some people that it's the opposite. Like they need something on their stomach, or
Yeah.
else they're going to feel like they're going to throw up or whatever.
I've got to have 2 hour. I got to eat. If I eat something for 30 minutes before I work out, I'm crashing halfway through.
Yeah.
Because all the blood's digesting the food and not in the muscles.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say generally speaking, like an hour beforehand, it's good to get something.
That's my closest.
Yeah.
2 hours, I can fly.
Yeah,
1 hour, I can get it done.
But some people some kids and some people I train in the morning, like they roll out of bed and walk into the gym.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. These morning people.
Yeah, if you're going for optimal performance and like we're gonna hit a hard workout, we're trying to get the best out of you.
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. You need
but if somebody's goal is
just get up and get
fat
moving.
loss, or like I just need to hit the gym and burn this many calories, or I just need to do this, then like that, you can get by with that.
All right, I got a couple pop quiz questions for you. So just spitball.
Hit me.
Okay, mountain or beach?
Beach.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Okay. Diet or exercise?
Exercise.
Yeah, I knew you'd pick that one. So if somebody's like, I need to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, and they can't figure it out to do both,
yeah.
What do you like? Does diet get it off them faster? Does exercise? I mean, I know you're totally biased because you are.
No, I'd say both are vital. Like if somebody is like out of shape and overweight by a good bit, most things will help. Meaning like it's not going to take a lot to help them see progress. You start working out, even if you kept your diet the same, you're going to see progress.
Okay.
If you didn't work out and you start dieting a little bit, you're going to see progress.
And by dieting, it can mean just not eating less, but just cleaning up your diet. If you're eating fast food versus meat, fruit, veggies.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a calories issue, but yeah, I mean, it's normally if you start eating cleaner, you're going to eat less calories.
Yeah, but I mean, not all calories are created the same, right? I mean, that's kind of what they're saying now.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's what RFK says anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They all have purpose and whatnot, but I think that exercise, like a consistent exercise, is going to be like pay dividends in the long run because muscle is important.
Sure.
And building muscle and keeping muscle is going to be very important for health long term. I mean, diet is too, because I think both things compound over time.
What do you mean? Why do I need muscles when I'm in my 70s and 80s?
Well, for one, it's going to help you. It's going to increase longevity. I mean, I know Peter Attia has become very popular over the last couple of years, but one of the things that he talks about is how important muscle mass is and combating the idea of like having a fall. You've heard like old people, if they fall and break their hip, like the numbers on that of like how much that decreases your lifespan is
you break your hip in your 70s, you're knocking a decade off your life.
Yeah, so like avoiding that, which involves strength. I mean, one of those big things is like grip strength, because holding yourself up if you fall, if you trip, being able to grab onto something and hold yourself up from a fall can save, like you said, a lot of years of your life.
Yeah.
And the problem with muscle is that as we age, we start to lose muscle.
Sure.
Every single person. And so that is something that we want to combat. And if you don't have any muscle and you're trying to like, oh shoot, I need to gain muscle now in my 60s, that's going to be very difficult. If you're able to get muscle early on, maintain it for a long time, you're going to be in a much better spot for your health span than you would otherwise.
And what would you recommend if somebody waited too long? If they're hearing this and they're in their 60s or 70s and they're like, they didn't do that their whole life.
It's never too late to start, and you're definitely going to be better off getting in the gym now than you would not being like, oh, I'm too far gone. Like, no, that each session counts, and it's going to compound. And good thing about fitness is like the scalability of exercise is all the way. Like you can start, and like I have a client that's 85 years old. He'll be 85 in a couple weeks, and some of the things we do, someone would think we're not even working out, but like. There's a lot of things that we have to do to make sure he can do day-to-day things, like sitting down in a chair and standing up, like those type of things that like, are getting more and more difficult. Being able to maintain that coming in 3 times a week for him is that, I mean, that's of the utmost importance, because if he misses a week and he's like, oh, my knee's bothering me, I'm going to take a week off. And then, something else starts hurting. He's like, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And then before you know it, it's a couple months gone by. The muscle that he did have is now gone, and he can't get out of the chair by himself now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the older you are, the more important it is to be consistent.
Oh, yeah.
You can get away with missing some workouts in your 20s, but when you're in your 80s, you gotta hit it.
Yeah, I would say it's very important to stay consistent at that age, because there's just more risk.
And you're around all the fun young people anyway. You need that when you're older. You having young people friendships.
Oh yeah,
is important.
And that's the fun thing about the gym too, as we talked about just the clientele that we have brings that much more encouragement, and the culture to the gym with all the different clients is so fun.
Yeah, for sure. So it's no surprise to me that you picked workouts over diet. I've been trying to get you to cut out these caffeine energy drinks, Bravo, for like 2 years.
Yep.
I cannot get you on coffee, but I got you a caramel macchiato from Starbucks today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I have a pretty big sweet tooth, as you know, part of the reason why I like the energy drinks. And this is actually pretty sweet, so I'm enjoying it.
Okay, another pop quiz for you now that we're thinking about this. If you're at your house and there's 10 cookies in the kitchen, do you eat them all right now, or do you just do like one a day for 10 days?
Oh, man. I'm not doing one a day for 10 days. That's for sure. I'll probably eat as many as I could without feeling sick.
Yes.
And
Or
then,
maybe feeling a little sick.
and then that's right. And then a little sick. And then I'll probably eat the rest the next day. My mindset would definitely be, we got to get them out of the house.
We got to get them out of
And
here,
we're not
dude.
throwing them away,
We're not,
so
it's
I'm
wasteful to throw
just
them
gonna
away.
crush 'em.
You just
So-
got to hit them.
Yeah.
And it's better that you eat them than leave them around for your wife to eat.
That's right.
Yeah, I feel the same way about this.
It's part of my motivation. Not that I need more motivation to work out, because I do truly enjoy working out, but it does give me a little more motivation. Like, all right, guess we're going to run that extra mile, or guess we're going to hit a little longer workout
so
today.
you use it as mental fuel.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I do love eating, and so I love to work out as well, and so I just use them in tandem. Be like, if I ate a little bit more, be like, I guess I'm going to work out a little bit more. Or if I worked out a little harder,
You're a
then
sicko, Jonathan.
I get to work out a little, or I get to eat a little more, and so.
I love it. So like what, general fitness. I know for those of you guys that don't know, he can do all these pull-ups and push-ups and all this fancy stuff. He's also an awesome pickleball player. We should throw that in there as well. So you're not just the brute guy. You got some finesse to you, some athleticism.
Thanks. Yeah. So we didn't really talk about it, but I played college baseball. So in high school, I grew up playing, all
Most
the sports,
sports,
really,
yeah.
just, touching a little bit of everything. Baseball was definitely a specific passion for me. And so I played that through college, but also swam a little in high school. And then after college, I definitely tried my hand at a little bit of softball, a little bit of rec volleyball, and then pickleball got real popular, COVID or shortly after. And so I definitely picked up a pickleball paddle and played multiple times a week for a couple years in a row, and definitely developed a passion for it, which I still very much have. But I have 2 little ones at home, and so they get a lot of my time now. So pickleball has fallen to the wayside. But
Did you ever connect with our buddy Hapanimi at the ranch office?
I did connect with them. We haven't gotten to play together.
So shout out to the ranch office. They've got a pickleball court at I-10 in Campbell that you can go play at.
I am gonna get over there. Schedule's been busy.
Blaylock in I-10, near Westview.
But yeah, all the sports I love. I'm totally down for any like rec sport that's going on.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
So when you train for yourself now, you're training for general fitness. Plus, if you got some fun competition coming up, you'll tweak it for that.
Yeah. So fortunately now, like I've been working out consistently since I got to high school. So let's say 15 plus years. And I've done a lot of different types of training. Like I've done obviously training for baseball when I was still playing. And then I've been training, I wouldn't say powerlifting, like squat, bench, deadlift, but I've had some periods of my training where that was the main focus. I was trying to bench, squat, or deadlift as much as possible. Now I'd say it's kind of whatever I want. Like earlier we trained, I was training for the Murph back in May and April and things. And so that was a little bit style training. And then shortly after that, I decided I wanted to run a half marathon. And so did that on July 4th. The long distance thing I don't really love, but it was a good like challenge for me, because long distance wasn't my forte beforehand. So kind of learning that different thing. High Rocks is really in right now. And
What?
So, High Rocks.
What's that?
Oh yeah, that's kind of it's the biggest like
High Rocks?
Yeah, HYROX. High Rocks.
Oh, it sounded like some crackhead thing. High Rocks.
No,
I
I
didn't know what you were talking about.
I think it's a I think the name is based off of like hybrid training. That's really in right now.
Okay.
Basically, I'd say it's more cardio than lifting, but it's a combination of running and then doing some like skier, rower, sled push, lunges, wall ball type thing. So it's very in right now, and so a lot of people are training that way, which is a little bit high intensity interval training style.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to throw these different types of training into my regime, which I really enjoy all types of training, and obviously can recognize where there's some holes. Like if I trained strength only for a long time, like, man, I've gotten slow, or my cardio is not very good. And so mixing in some cardio, some long runs, some 4, 5, 6, 8 mile runs, or, hey, I'm going to hit, 500 skier, 500 rower, run a mile, and then come back in and push the sled for a minute and like really crank up that intensity on the interval training kind of cardio.
How many days a week are you doing something?
Most weeks, unless I'm like traveling, it's 6 days a week.
6 days a week. You
I'll
take
tr-
off Sundays or?
Yeah, Sundays I'll take
And
off.
you just don't you do nothing.
Yeah, typically we'll go to church in the morning, and then it's just a slow day with the family.
Slow day.
Yeah.
Try to get some sleep. if you can.
Saturday still I'll probably get up and run, or if sometimes I'll go to the gym if the wife wants to go to the gym. Mm-hmm. We'll go together. But
Shout out to the wife.
yeah, but typically I'll do something. But I'll lift Monday through Friday usually every day, and then Saturday do something. Sunday usually do nothing.
That seems like a lot. Lifting 5 days straight with nothing, no breather in between.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I found a good spot where I'm focusing on some movements that I really want to improve at, and balance the level of volume that I'm doing over the course of those days and mixing it up, so I'm not not overdoing it. And then I get usually 2 days rest from lifting every week, and that's
2 days of rest from lifting, but you're getting your longer runs on Saturdays.
Usually, or I'll try to see if I can play pickleball or something like that on Saturday.
And is that's so for general fitness, do you recommend people do something every day? I know like the midweek breather for the NFL and MLB guys is good because those guys are doing sport specific stuff. But if you're just, your average.
Yeah, it depends on what your goals are. Like if you're aggressively trying to lose a lot of weight, then yeah, I would encourage you to do something every day. Sometimes it's walking, sometimes it's running or lifting. But like generally speaking, I would recommend 3 days a week of some strength exercise and 2 to 3 days a week of something more cardio focused.
And the cardio can be slow and boring. It does not need
Yeah.
to be till you're just dead.
No. There's a lot we can talk about. Like if your focus is VO2 max training, you could do a lot of zone 2 cardio, which could be, you may have a tough time getting there just walking, but like incline walking on the treadmill or very slow, controlled, steady state pace of jogging or biking.
You can do 30-minute to an hour long of slow, boring cardio, listening to the Elite MMA podcast.
That's right.
And accomplish a lot.
Yeah, that can be very beneficial.
Yeah.
And in fact, especially if your goal is to increase VO2 max.
Well, that was me because I was the hit guy.
Yeah.
Nothing but hit for like 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I did a half marathon, but like did very little long, slow burn. Even my personality, I like to go.
Yeah.
And then once I plugged in the slow, boring treadmill, exercise bike, mix it up a little,
Yeah.
I saw a big increase in my stamina.
Yeah, so like I was talking about earlier, Peter Attia was big on the zone 2, and the way he would describe it is that your zone 2, the slow and controlled style running or biking or whatever, would help you build a bigger base to build your VO2 max.
Yep.
And then, every third or fourth time you go in and you do a hard zone 5 or like close to your max intensity, that's where you can increase the peak of your VO2 max.
Yeah. And for me in jiu-jitsu, when we roll, like at the end of class, like say you're rolling for 30 minutes or an hour at the end of every class, and by rolling for the non-jiu-jitsu folks, that just means kind of like a controlled sparring situation. That you're in the high heart rate.
Right.
I mean, so like it's always there. And so training the slow stuff is the off the mat.
Yeah.
Is where I think most jiu-jitsu athletes could get the biggest improvement.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, it can help them build a bigger base to see more improvement. But yeah, generally speaking, like if I was going to give a broad recommendation for general fitness, I would say 3 days a week of strength training and 2 days a week of cardio. Depending on goals, obviously those things can either flip or you can, increase stuff like that depending on specific goals. But
Nice.
we're fortunate to get to train like a lot of general fitness clients, and most of them come either 2 or 3 days a week. And if they only come in twice, we'd recommend a third day on their own or whatever. But those people also sometimes will come in and double dip and do a 4 or 5 minute strength training session, and then they'll stay and walk on the treadmill 30 minutes or ride the bike for an extra 30 minutes and things like that.
I love it, man. I love it.
So I have a question for you, Frost. Like, obviously, your specialty would be in MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. How would you say that fitness has either helped you or played a part in your MMA career?
I love it, man. So I was really lucky in that I started, weight type stuff, middle school, high school, ran track in college a little bit, had a weight program there. And so I had an exposure to strength training in jiu-jitsu early on, where a lot of guys that like just did jiu-jitsu, they didn't play those other sports. So I was able to draw from other sports things that helped me in jiu-jitsu, even like the mental preparation. Well, I was a pole vaulter, so there was like all this visualization and all these focus exercises and stuff we would do off the track to like visualize it, and I could put the visualization into jiu-jitsu and MMA as well. So I had some sort of hacks that I stole from other sports that really helped. So, but for sure, when I was like younger in my 20s, I was strong, like as strong as, or maybe stronger than most people my size. So that was helpful in the weight class thing. You want to be like the strongest guy in your weight class. Strength isn't everything, but it's definitely helpful. Strength, speed, all that stuff. So that helped. And then I got away from lifting weights sort of in my 30s. I had an injury and then was just sort of like not lifting. And I think that's the wrong thing. I think to survive in jiu-jitsu, the older we are, the muscles are like body armor, like, and especially now I'm 45, like I'm still competing here and there, but I made the mistake last year of cutting down to a different weight class. I lost. I'd been in there getting those gains with you, and then I shed all those gains to lose about 10 pounds to compete at a lower weight class, and then started getting injured again.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I knew that going into that. I remember the first day I came into train with you guys, I was like, I'm not cutting weight. I'm not cutting weight. And then like a year later, I'm like, I think I can cut some weight. But it's like, no, don't cut the weight.
Yeah.
Leave the muscle on. Put more muscle on. Put more strength on. It's going to keep you in the game longer. It's going to keep your health better from a performance standpoint. Even when I fought at like higher weight classes, like in the 180s and stuff, I was not as strong as those guys, but I was like my best strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did better. Like I won at those fighting bigger guys. So I think just every athlete being at the best version of themselves. Sometimes you get lucky and slide in at the top of a weight class. Sometimes you don't. But being the best version of yourself, it's going to extend your career. You're going to have better results. And, it's just, you're going to do better. There's always that, should I cut? I made that mistake. I cut down to 153. I'm walking around like 180 right now. So cut down to 153 for an MMA fight. And it was just too much, dude. I didn't have hardly any gas in the tank come fight night,
And that's not fun, right? I mean, is
No.
that the most?
I mean,
that
was the most I cut. I fought a few times in like jiu-jitsu stuff in the low 160s, and I won, and I was a lot stronger, and longer, and it was like, man, this is like cheating. Like,
Yeah.
I was smoking some guys at that weight class, but then sort of ran out. Like, there's a jiu-jitsu tournament called ADCC. It's like a big grappling thing. I was at the qualifiers, and so I submitted my first 3 guys, and then in the semifinals, I lost 2-0. I kind of ran out of gas, so I didn't have the gas to finish. So I tied for 3rd place, and the top 2 guys go to ADCC to Abu. Back then, it was actually in Abu Dhabi, I think. And so I missed qualifying for this really big tournament. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have won more, but I definitely ran out of gas and started getting injured in that final round. So especially in those big tournaments now, if I go to the Worlds, even at 45 and compete, I mean, there's 7 or 8 matches to win gold. So at 45 years old, trying to fight 7 or 8 people in the same day is super hard.
Yeah.
And if you're screwing around with a weight cut, or you're not buff, or you're not the strongest guy in there, you're toast. You can't make it. I mean, the gumbiness, the flexibility, stuff like that helps people in jiu-jitsu for a long time. But man, those muscles are super important.
Yeah. I could understand that. It's muscle's at a premium, and I think more people are recognizing that, especially on the female side of things, where cardio used to be king forever. Of oh, if you want to be fit, you just go run more. But I love that it's becoming more popular to gain muscle and keep muscle.
I tell everybody 30 and up on the mat, hey man, it sounds awkward. I'm they're like, I'm here. I'm like, how often you train? And they're like, 5 days a week. I'm like, you're doing jiu-jitsu 5 days a week? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, cut that back to 3 or 4 and go hit the weights another day.
Yeah.
I mean, and I work here. You know, I'm telling you, go somewhere else. You know, like
Yeah.
you need those muscles for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, I mean, when you have muscles, obviously you would feel stronger, but safer, and knowing like your body's a little bit more, bulletproof. You have some things that can protect you from silly injuries that you might have gotten if you didn't have as much muscle.
Yeah.
Because you're testing obviously the benefits to strength training are numerous, but bone strength as well as muscular strength and just doing hard things.
Yeah, and
Mental
the
strength
hormones
is
that get
another.
released and all that stuff when you're lifting heavy. I mean, all that stuff helps with recovery and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, there's so many benefits, and it can definitely become.
In a jiu-jitsu room, you're rolling with everybody in the room. So if I'm 180, right, and somebody's 280, I might get paired up with that guy.
Yeah.
Now, we as coaches try to do a good job to make sure there's no injuries and all that stuff. But for sure, in my 20s, I'm like, yeah, I want to do the 330-pound offensive lineman and see how this goes.
Sure.
Like, let me get plugged into that, you know? And so if I'm frail when I do that, I'm getting injured. But if I'm solid, like, I'm going to get that guy. You know what I mean? Assuming he hasn't been training forever. That's one of the most fun things about jiu-jitsu is smoking some super giant athlete that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. But anyway, you can catch those big guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But yeah, so I think muscles are super important. I personally am lifting with you 1 day a week.
Right.
And then I try to do another day of like pull-ups or stuff I can do at my house that doesn't require a full set of weights and all that stuff. For me, access and convenience is I think that's big for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, fortunately, you're like, just 5 minutes from my house, 5 minutes from the gym here, so I can pop over and pump iron with y'all. But here at the gym, we've got some stuff too that we can do some basic lifting. But even as a guy that works at a gym, I think it's super important that I go somewhere else for my strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a lot of the same equipment here that you've got, but you're an expert in that. It'd be like you training jiu-jitsu in your garage with your brother and a couple of your buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all might get better. You probably get a little better, and you probably get a few more injuries. But like, if you come here where the professional coaches are, you're going to excel better. And I feel 100% the same way about strength. And dude, I'm like 30 years into lifting weights and stuff. Like, I know a thing or two, and I coach people in how to do these things. But having a place to go that's my happy place where I'm away from my job and I can have an hour and be a student and have a coach and ask questions and get better coaching than I would get on my own or by watching YouTube or whatever is money well spent and time well spent.
Well, thanks. That's encouraging to hear. And I know that you're a great client to train because you're consistent, first of all. And like I said, that's the number one key if you want to see improvement. But the consistency also comes with, like, you enjoy being there and you're open to doing to feedback and to doing different things. And that's one of the things that I really like about training you is that when you come in, sometimes we may both have ideas of what we want to do that day. Typically I'll have, what we have in the program, but say like, hey, I'm feeling this today. Let's skip this and substitute, bench instead, or let's not do the bar, let's do the dumbbells. And that's totally how we do things. And that's the other benefit of one-on-one training is like, I get to say, hey, how you feeling today? You're a little banged up. Let's adjust these few things. And we're still going to come in and we're going to get the best result out of, what you have to bring today.
Yeah.
And that's my job as a coach, is to get the most out of you for that day that you're in.
Yeah.
It's not always like, oh, hey, it's a program, like we have to stick to it. We're going to try to stick to it, but of course we're going to make adjustments.
Yeah, you got to pivot.
Yeah,
for sure. And it might be pile it on. I'm feeling great today. Let's get a little
absolutely.
Let's get froggy.
Let's push an extra set. Let's add a little extra weight if you're feeling comfortable. I'm there to spot you. So let's push today and see what we have.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. So if people want to come to FSP, and they can go to the website?
Yeah, fairchildsportsperformance.com. Email or call
you guys. Set up. Does everybody that come in there does an assessment first, whether they're doing a cardio boot camp or a summer camp?
Yeah, we encourage everyone to come in and get an assessment first, because that helps us as the trainer be able to best serve the client.
You're planning. Otherwise, you're just kind of guessing. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone comes in and gets an assessment, and then the scheduling starts from there.
And then so there's one-on-one training. There's also like a boot camp thing in the mornings
Yeah,
too.
we have a boot camp in the morning and afternoon for some general fitness clients, and then we have some small group training for.
And is that a fun? I've never seen that. Is that like a bunch of moms in there having fun, kind of a
Yeah.
social, good camaraderie?
Yeah, definitely.
Getting in shape.
Part of it's a social aspect, and yeah, we're always working on expanding that kind of part of the business. But yeah, right now we have a morning boot camp class. That's some ladies and the
Who's
social
running that one? Are you in there mixing it up, or Alex? Or
me and Alex. Some of the girls do it too. It's a mixture of all the coaches,
That's fun.
to kind of mix it up. And then we also have an afternoon class that's kind of similar.
Okay.
And then we're working on getting kind of an evening kind of men's general fitness.
that'd be
group
a good
going.
idea.
So getting some different
After work crowd.
after work crowd, getting some different things rolling in, and then our small group training for middle school and high school athletes.
And by small group, you mean you got like 3 to 5 of them in there at a time, or
We keep the ratio of 3 to 1.
3 to 1 coaches? So if you got 6, you got 2 coaches.
Right.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. So that's those are. I think we usually have a morning class before school, and then
You do?
Yeah.
You got kids in there before school?
Oh
pumping
yeah,
iron?
dude. There's some kids who are, the after school they have sports practice, and so they that's the only time they can get it in. And so, but most of the kids come in the afternoon. Usually in the off season they don't have much commitment.
And when you do that, are you doing like the baseball guys with the baseball guys, the golf guys with the golf guys, or do you mix them in together a little?
Yeah, sometimes they're mixed in, but remember, each of them have their own program and their own folder. So
Yeah.
sometimes we'll do some of the movement, agility work together, some stuff that can be similar across the sports, and then everyone will kind of branch off and have their program that they'll work off of, and then the coaches can help
Yeah.
each
I think
client
it's
individually.
important for them to work out with different type of athletes too, because it pushes you out of your comfort zone and
Definitely.
looks at your mind and challenges you in different ways, and at least lets you see what else there is to do. The golfer might not be pushing the sled as hard as he can, but
Right.
maybe need to do a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's a great culture. It's a great vibe. In the afternoon, it gets really fun when you have a bunch of the high school kids in there together. And now we got a pretty good middle school, high school group. And so in the evening time, around that 4 to 6 area, 4 to 7, it gets really fun.
Okay, cool. So people can come do all those group classes. And summertimes, the summer camps are off the map good for kids starting at 8 and up.
Yeah.
And
Starting
then
at
obviously the personal training, whether you're a pro athlete or somebody just wanting some get in shape,
Yeah.
they can reach out to you guys and come in and do that.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
bravo. Well, this has been a lot of fun, buddy. Hopefully you'll come back and drop some more knowledge on us one
Dude,
day.
this has been awesome. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
This is a blast.
All right. That's a wrap, everybody. Thanks, guys.